All right. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have you here. We have some guests tonight from our Healthy on a Budget free group. And then we also have challengers from our ongoing self care group and virtual gyms that our team runs. So, my name is Kelly Brown. I'm very excited to have you here tonight. I'm thankful that you took the time to be here on the call, or if you're listening to the recording, taking this time for you. I think that wherever you are in life, whether you're a college student, we have moms, we have newly married, we have single women, like this is something I think catches all of our attention. And Angela, when she mentioned running this group, I was so excited because even as a mom of 8 who's been on this journey a long time, I'm constantly learning ways to um, just be good stewards of our finances when it comes to food. And so tonight she is going to be sharing with you, and whatever group you're in, you'll have access to this call in the Healthy on a Budget group. And in our self-care, we're going to be sharing tips and things with meal planning, um, recipe sharing. And, the biggest thing about it is trying to stop saying the limiting things that say you can't, like I can't eat healthy because, and look at this group as a way to show yourself you can. Because even for me, as being a coach for 6 years helping people in their wellness, I have an attitude of like, what can I learn from here today? And that's what I ask for you guys to do. And I'm super pumped. She has so much value to add and so much goodness. She's been working hard. So I'm going to hand the call over to Angela.
All right, thanks. Like Kelly said, I'm Angela, and I'm going to go through this as quick as I can so I can take as little time as possible, especially for the people who are going to watch the recording. But if you can quickly just use the chat and tell me, do you currently meal plan in any way, shape, or form? Like even if you just have a list of dinners that you keep in your fridge, or you shop for something every week. Do you have any sort of set schedule that you use for your meal planning? Okay, so what I'm going to talk about, pretty much I'm going to go through how I meal plan, some simple tips for reducing food waste and just kind of using what you have more, and then also a little bit about shopping the sales and some basic tips for when I'm actually grocery shopping. So the goal of this whole thing is for you to make things simpler. So if you're thinking that you need to meal plan by creating a month calendar and every meal is going to be scheduled and you're going to meal prep all of your lunches for the entire month on one day, you're probably going to fail, because that's what I used to think meal prepping and meal planning involved. But that was like way too overwhelming for me. I started with like a couple days at a time. I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down tonight and I'm going to write down, this is what I've got. This is what I'm going to eat tomorrow. And then, okay, this is what I've got now. Now I can do a week. Now I pretty much do a week at a time. And when I do our meal plan, I pretty much have one thing for breakfast. I have one thing. My husband has something. I kind of alternate a couple of things for my kids. And then we do meal prepped lunches. So my husband will either do sandwiches or we'll do like burrito bowls or something along those lines. And then dinners is where I really alternate. I try not to do chicken 2 nights in a row. I try to mix it up with chicken or turkey or beef or something along those lines, so that we're not doing the same thing all the time. But so the first thing that I do when I start my meal planning is I take inventory. So you want to walk through your pantry, look in your fridge, look in your freezer. You can do this while you've got your notes open on your phone. You're like writing down what you've got. You can do it on a notepad. You can just take a mental note if you don't have a lot of stuff, because we pretty much our fridge gets pretty empty by the end of the week. So we pretty much know if it's there, it probably needs to be used this weekend. So just take a look and see, what meats do you have frozen? I got a 2-pack of frozen like whole chickens at Walmart the other day, and I had another one that needed to be used, so I just used it to make soup and a bunch of other stuff this week. Figure out what needs to be used. What meats do you have that you don't have to buy that can cut down on your budget for that next week? And then the next thing I do after I do that is I look at my calendar, because if you don't know what's coming up, you're going to end up with a really complicated meal on a night that your kid has a soccer game or your husband has therapy 2 hours away in St. Louis, like mine did. And suddenly, like, crap, I got the kids and I can't cook this. So figure out, what nights do you need a crock pot meal? Are you having somebody over? Are you going to be out? Do you need to pack a lunch or figure out where you're going to eat so you're not like running to McDonald's at 9 o'clock at night? So figure that out. And then you can start planning. Once you know kind of what your week looks like, you can kind of plan a little more about, you know, what is it going to be? And you can start super simple. Don't start trying like 5 new recipes a week, because you will probably burn out, especially if you're like me and you always warn people that this will either be really, really good or we're going to be ordering pizza. So, I mean, it's just me being honest here, because it might turn out great. It might be pizza for dinner, because I have had that happen before where I've got 5 people over and either the chicken just would not cook or I burned it or something. Things happen when you're trying new recipes. So just keep it simple. Are you going to have Taco Tuesdays? We pretty much have some form of taco related meal once a week. We don't always do it on the same day. We usually have burgers 1 or 2 nights a week. We do something pasta-ish with like zucchini noodles or spaghetti squash or something along those lines for dinner. Figure out those kind of things. Search Pinterest, even if say you've got 3 pounds of ground beef in the freezer. Search ground beef dinner recipes and just come up with something. You know, it'll even spark an old recipe in your mind that you can pull out for a new, you know, kind of a new thing that you know works. Check the local store ads and see. So we usually shop either at our local Walmart or at Aldi. If you check, like this past week, I wasn't going to get chicken, but then I walked into Aldi and they had this massive pack of chicken on sale. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm making chicken for lunches this week now. So I got a big old pack of chicken and I'm going to cook that up for my lunches probably tomorrow, because I did not have time to do it today because we had to exchange our washer. But anyways, that has been a whole nother saga. Yeah, so let's see, where am I? I'm checking my notes. Yeah, the store notes specifically, or the store ads specifically, are where I check for meats and produce and any like bulk items that you might tend to get. We do not have a Costco or anything like that near us, so I'm sure Kelly will be sharing tips later about Costco and like, you know, the nice big bulk stores that you can actually get stuff at. We don't even have, like, our nearest Trader Joe's like 2 hours away. So we have Aldi and Walmart and Schnucks, and that's like it within an hour. So we're pretty limited on that. Another thing that I really like to do, a lot of times something will come up, like, you know, you'll suddenly have to take somebody to the doctor and you'll get home at 5:30 and you've got no time to make what you were going to make that night, even when you do meal plan. So I try to keep some simple things in my freezer that I can pull out on those nights, so I'm not completely throwing the plan to the wind and, again, ordering pizza or ending up at McDonald's. Not that that's a horrible thing. We actually had that. Well, my kids had that for dinner tonight. I had Panera, but it also wasn't the best thing at Panera. But anyway, simple things that I like to keep on hand. I keep the big packs of frozen broccoli, the steamer packs of frozen broccoli, things like that, because that you can easily throw it on a sheet pan, stick it in the oven for a bit, and by the time you're done with that, you've come up with some form of protein or something to serve for dinner. Usually for us, it's frozen burgers that I pull out and, like, you know, chop the burger thing off the pad and throw it in the pan. But it's not the best, most gourmet meal, but it's simple and it works. I usually eat my burgers I've been doing them actually as a burger bowl. So I have like a bunch of lettuce in it, and then I just put all my condiments on top, and I get a whole bunch of veggies, and I don't have to eat the bun. And I get more food that way too, which is always awesome. There's a couple of different, Aldi has a brand, Tyson has a brand of grilled chicken strips that are already sliced, already grilled in the freezer section. You can pop them in the microwave. I did them for lunch today on the stove and just sauteed them with frozen bell peppers and put them in a burrito wrap, and I ate those for lunch today. Those are a really good thing to have on hand for really quick, super quick, just need to get something in your body meals. Salad kits are a lifesaver if you are running to the store at the last minute and need something quick to just be able to dump and go when you get home, or even my husband has taken them to work and just taken a bowl and just dumping them in a bowl. The steamable veggie bags are absolutely amazing. They have all different kinds of veggies. They've got some that are already seasoned. I've tried there are some that are like cauliflower mashed potatoes. And in my opinion, if you want to eat mashed potatoes because those taste like cauliflower and not mashed potatoes, but they do the trick if you want the cheese. And a rotisserie chicken. Honestly, that is probably like the unsung hero of my meals, because rotisserie chicken, you just pull one out from you just grab one or two from the store, and there you've got dinner. Grab that, a salad kit, or your steamable veggie bag, and there you've got dinner. Let's see. Steamed green beans and baked chicken thighs are Megan, that's one of our other ones, is I usually have. So another thing, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, I got a big pack of chicken thighs, and when I was cooking them, I froze individual, like 3 packs, because that's about what we use right now. And then I can just pull those out when you need to. And you can cook them straight from frozen, even as a little frozen solid chunk before, because I've done that. Anyway, just moving on. When you're actually shopping, something that I've found that really, really helps me to stay on track and not like mysteriously end up with all these extra things in my cart, especially when you're at Aldi and they have that awesome miscellaneous section that you end up with, cars for your kids and pajamas and boots and a frying pan and a knife and whatever else they randomly have, is I use a calculator while I'm shopping. I just pull up. I'm usually shopping alone, by the way. It's like my self-care alone time on the weekends. I just pull up the calculator on my phone, and as I'm going, I type in, okay, 189 plus 269 plus, and you just keep adding it all up. And then you can kind of see as you're going, wait, I'm not even halfway through the store and I'm over halfway through my budget. Like what do I need to cut? Do I need to tweak something? Do I need to take a second and look back at my meal plan? That's another thing. When I'm actually writing out my meal plan, I've been putting it on the fridge because I'm sick of my husband asking me what's for dinner. But I just put it on a note on my phone. That's probably too bright for you to see. But just Saturday, this, Sunday, this, Monday, this is what we're having. Just really simple, so that I always have it with me and I know if there's something that I need to pull out of the freezer or if it's already in my fridge. As far as meals, my breakfast has pretty much been the same thing with like 2 variations for probably a year and a half. I have eggs. I use frozen bell peppers in them. And I either have them with a piece of toast or in a burrito. The burritos are extremely simple and low cost to prep. I actually broke down the cost. Let me see if I can find it real fast. There it is. So for the egg burritos, it costs $1.09 with no meat, like per burrito. You can't get that at all at McDonald's and still have a decent meal. I use the Flat Out Bread brand of tortillas. They're really good. They're really high in fiber and low in carbohydrates, which is really good to balance those two, to keep it helps your body digest them better. I'm losing track of why that is good, but anyway, Dave's Killer Bread is another one of our go-to brands. They have now bagels, English muffins, all kinds of different breads. I think they have tortillas, but our Walmart doesn't have them. They have these thinly sliced breads that are like really small pieces that are basically half the size of a regular piece of bread. But if you want a sandwich, you can have two pieces of bread on your sandwich for the same amount of nutrients as one big piece of bread. So it's really helpful because you can actually have like a sandwich with a top and a bottom and not have to mess with it. For breakfast, so that's pretty much what I use for breakfast for toast. And for my husband this past week, I did basically an Egg McMuffin, those Dave's Killer Bread English muffins, a fried egg, a piece of ham, a piece of cheese. wrapped them in foil. He pulled them out, stuck them in the microwave in the morning, obviously without the foil, and had breakfast in his car on his way to work instead of stopping at McDonald's, which was his weakness. But our McDonald's is closed currently for construction, so saving our budget a little bit. My kids and I absolutely love Kodiak Cakes. Kodiak Cakes brand is it's not dairy free because they use a whey protein to fortify it, but it is very high in fiber and low in carbohydrate, low in sugar. Still tastes amazing. I make an entire box at once and freeze them. You freeze them flat on a baking sheet. Then when they're frozen, you can toss them in in just a Ziploc, and you can microwave them in the morning, or you can put them in the toaster. Either way. So that is a way that we really cut down on costs for breakfast without having to, buy breakfast or buy the pre-made breakfast. And you can, control a little bit more of the ingredients too. Birch Benders is a brand that has gluten and dairy-free options as well for those, and they're pretty good. As far as lunches go, I don't know how many of you get sick of the same kind of things for lunches all the time, but that's my husband. He cannot eat the same thing more than one day in a row, unless it's a sandwich or pizza. But anyway, one thing that we do to kind of boredom proof our lunches is sometimes we will alternate the vegetable that's in them. So on Monday, our base will be, let's say, chicken and rice. You'll have chicken and broccoli and rice. And then the next day you can have chicken and beans and rice, like green beans. And then, you can change that. Or you could do chicken and rice or chicken and broccoli and potatoes and chicken and broccoli and rice. Alternate things like that so that you're not making it super complicated on yourself, and you can still prep it all at once, but you're just alternating it a little bit. Then a few quick tips about food waste, and I'll get to the comments in a second and answer any questions that were in there. But a few tips for reducing your food waste is always using what you have on hand first. Don't buy more of what you've already got, obviously. And then try to have the goal of having a mostly empty fridge or freezer so that you're using up, obviously, unless you're storing meals for a baby, you're using up what you have. And then when we cook a chicken, I'll roast a whole chicken and then throw the bones and all the discarded part in a Ziploc with any ends of chopped veggies. I've actually got one of those in my fridge ready to go in the crock pot now to make bone broth. And you can use the bone broth when recipes call for broth, or you can drink it. I've been trying to drink a cup a day. And I'm going to be throwing that in the crock pot tomorrow and just letting it cook for a whole day. And yes, Sarah, bone broth. You've gotten me hooked. When this is not necessarily so much about reducing food waste as it is saving you time. If you're going to be browning ground beef for pasta or, tacos, cook a whole big bulk pack and then divide it into Ziplocs and freeze it so that when you need another quick meal, you can pull that out and season it however you want and throw it in whatever you want. And so if you're going to be doing it, don't just make 1 pound, just go ahead and make 3 because it doesn't take that much longer. Same with eggs. When I was making, you can prep those burritos for a whole week. You can freeze them for a month. I did that when we were moving. I had a bunch of burritos, and there was a time we were having to drive a long way to Mass, and we would just pull out a burrito, microwave it, and we'd eat it on the car. And I didn't have to make breakfast at 5 a.m., but I could still have a good breakfast and not have to go to the 3 meal options in town that are non-existent at 5 a.m. And same with if you're cooking chicken, if you're gonna thaw a whole pack of chicken, just cook the whole thing and you can freeze part of it for later, or make 2 casseroles. If you're making a casserole for somebody else, make one for you too and stick it in the freezer. Just basically keep it simple. And if you get to the night, say tomorrow night you've got planned that you're gonna have, I don't know, taco salads, and you get to tomorrow night and you're just I really do not want taco. I want chicken. Switch what your meal is for that night with something else you have, because you know that you've got 5 to 6 meals that you can switch with, you know? Keep it simple. And if it's not keeping you on track, then you got to switch it up. So I'm going to look through the comments, but if you have any questions or anything to add to this, please feel free to unmute yourself and just add in whatever tips you have. Mexican chicken in Instant Pot. I need that.
I love what you're sharing. And I was going to say something that's kind of fun. Two things Courtney and I have. Well, Courtney and I both have leftovers like once a week, if not twice. So like on Saturdays for lunch, whatever's left over goes out on the countertop and people eat it up. And then we do it again on Sunday so that we use up all the like most random things ever. I mean, it doesn't matter. And then another thing that we did one time last summer when we were going through like just a very tight budget was like the goal was we ate everything in the fridge and pantry, and we had to meal plan from what we had, and we didn't go to the store except for like the most essential things. And it got really creative, but like we would eat through the fridge. So it was like nothing was left in it. And I found stuff in the pantry that we had, you know, like cans of tuna. Hadn't eaten tuna salad in forever, or cans of salmon. So we had salmon patties, like just like because we made a rule. And it was kind of neat because it showed us how much we were, like you were saying, just going to the grocery and buying things not on the list, or just not using everything we had. So sometimes like the last week of the month is like a tighter week for a lot of families. So it's like, you know, we haven't, but even if you made that like 1 week out of the month, you cleaned everything out and got through everything, or even to see how long it was till you had to go to the store. I know people who like made it 2 whole weeks and didn't have to go to the store because I think with the convenience can be, I don't know, it's just tempting. I love grocery shopping. Like I love going to the grocery store. I order my groceries now because it helps me save money because I like to go. And the other thing I was just going to add is the rule of thumb is I only go once a week. So if I forgot it, then it has to wait till the next week. And then we fall out of the habit sometimes, but if you make the rule and you stick to it, it's really helpful. So I just wanted to share that. But this is really good. I forgot about the cooking the meat before you freeze it. I'm so guilty of like 5 o'clock and I have frozen turkey for like tacos. You know, that's so good.
Sarah, I forgot to add too. I don't know how I forgot cauliflower rice. Mixing cauliflower rice with any form of ground beef, especially tacos, is like amazing because it seriously makes like 1 pound of ground beef would be gone in one night in our family, and it seriously makes it last like 2 or 3 nights.
And it's so like with taco meat, with taco meat, I'm not one, I don't hide veggies, like my kids know that they're in there, but for anybody who has texture issues or when you're starting out and you're trying to do something that's not going to mess with the flavor of your food, cauliflower rice doesn't taste like anything. And because of the way it's chopped up, if you buy it frozen, I don't make it. I just buy a bag of frozen cauliflower rice and you put it in with the meat and it takes on the color and the flavor and kind of the texture too of ground meat. But can I add one thing, Angela, that is a huge one, especially for the budget, but also for the nutrient quality, is finding out what's in season. And it's really hard when you can buy strawberries in February at a grocery store. But if you've ever noticed, sometimes fruit in particular.
But they suck in February.
Well, I was going to say, they're super expensive and really don't taste very good. And that tells you that, and if you really want to get into it, it says on every package where that food came from. And if it came from very, very, very far away from you, it's not in season. It's certainly not in season where you are. And so if you can find out what's in season, and there's always people who can help you with that. If you're not a gardener, if you don't know those kinds of things, that's okay. Everybody starts somewhere with what they learn. But it's cheaper to buy in season. That's why blueberries in the summer, you find them for like $1 a pint because they're in season and they taste better. My favorite is a roadside stand, but they're also more nutrient dense because if they came from closer to you, then you are getting them closer to having been picked and they haven't lost as many nutrients either.
Yeah, that's really good. That's definitely important. I have a friend who was talking so much about how our bodies are made to eat what is in season too. And that's really interesting. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of zucchini this summer. I think my husband's done with it.
But that's the good thing about eating in season, is that about the time you get sick of it, it goes out of season. And so we don't do everything only in season. Like we always eat bananas because there's no banana season in Ohio. But if you do fruit in season, so if right now you don't do oranges, because oranges are in season once there's a frost. So that's why oranges are in season in the winter, really, because in Florida, it gets cold in December, well, cold for them. And that's why up north, you get oranges that are really tasty in January, February, that kind of thing. But right now, it's apples and peaches and pears and those kinds of things are really tasty, and you get a whole bunch of them. They're less expensive, and you eat them until they're gone, and then you're sick of them, but then it's out of season. And then you have to wait a little bit, and then it's the next season again. The hardest stretch is from the end of orange season to the beginning of berry season. That's a pretty bleak period for fruit, but you can do it. And then it tastes so good when you get something that's really in season.
I think it was Kimberly who asked, what do I fry my eggs in? Honestly, I do like either just a little spray of like olive oil or nothing, because most of my pans are nonstick and not like the evil Teflon stuff, like the legit ceramic good stuff. But one of my weird Aldi finds was this pan with like the little circle frying holes, and that was like perfect for frying the eggs for those little muffins because they stayed in little perfect circles, which eggs don't do if you've ever fried them before. But something Sarah actually taught me was if you're nursing, you need the extra fats, so cook your eggs in coconut oil. That helped me so much with that crazy breastfeeding hangriness, because that was insane. It was one day I was literally eating like a solid meal every 2 hours, and it was crazy.
I always tell my husband he's not allowed to come into the room without food when I have a newborn. Like, I don't care if you just came 5 minutes ago. If you come into the room, you have to bring me food.
Yeah, this is good. We'll talk more about these things in the group, whatever group. Like we'll be talking about them in our self-care group or in the Healthy and a Budget group too. So I'm glad people ask questions. But yeah, I think there's a fear of using fat to cook your meals. And that's the one thing you don't want to cut out, because it actually keeps you like full in a good way. But you don't have to do like a whole stick of butter. Although my 2-year-old will eat a whole stick of butter. Angela, do you have anything else to share? This was so good. And I know the week is going to be awesome.
I think that's all. I kind of had to limit myself because I wanted to give you like all the lists that I have. Full disclosure, this is an area that I've been struggling in. Like I go over our grocery budget every month. So I figured if I am going to be figuring all of this out and doing all of this research, I might as well share it at the same time. One last thing, Debt Kickin' Mom, I'll type it in the chat so that you can see it. Her YouTube and Instagram pages are full of tips. She eats decently healthy with her family, and they paid off like $70-something thousand in 2 years on one income. But she has like a 40-minute YouTube video that I went through that is all detailed, how she meal plans, how she goes through her grocery store, how she goes through her, her pantry and writes down everything. So that is a really great resource if you need somebody else to show you, this is exactly how I do this.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Thank you. I'll check that out too. A lot of that, and I'll tell you one thing that Sarah said about shopping in season too. When you shop at stores like Aldi, what's nice is most of the vegetables they seem to have more of the in-season things because it's a smaller store, which I noticed when you know what I mean? Like it's not perfectly that way, but we'll share more in the group too about different ways you can even find resources. Like like she said, like if you don't have roadside stands, but they have things like Misfit Market and farms and stuff. which is when you feel ready for that step. And that's the beauty of this week. We're all in different places in our journey. So it's not like you're going to go from eating ramen and microwave burritos, if that was you, because that was me in college, ramen, microwave burritos, and Kraft macaroni and cheese with an occasional apple, that I took from the cafeteria because whatever. But to swapping things, to planning things, to taking one thing at a time, to like having fun and ordering a veggie box. Like, who else does I love getting stuff in boxes in the mail. It's kind of fun, but it's not all at once. And so please, if you struggle with all or nothing, leave that at the door and know you're in good company of people who are still growing and learning. And so you're going to try a meal one night and your kids are going to refuse to eat it. We kind of have a rule in our house with our kids. They have to try a bite. And if they don't like it, they could go fry an egg, because I got to the point where they wanted them I tried we're going to sit here till you finish it. And that went late. And then, but other things like that we'll talk about too. So just know you're in good company, and we're excited to have you here. And thank you, Angela, for just putting this whole thing together. This was her idea. I mean, I'm just so thankful. I know it's going to help a lot of people, including myself. So we close every Sunday night in prayer. So I'm going to close us in prayer. And I'm excited. Whatever group you're in, please make sure you check the post every day and ask questions so we know how best to serve you. Share things There's no, if you have a resource, feel free to add it. If there's places you're stuck, lean in. You have a lot of coaches with a lot of heart who are here to help you. And there's no shame in Pop-Tarts. I saw that on the thing. There's no food shaming. We have body shaming that we talk about. Well, there's food shaming that can happen in the culture. People think when they're in a room with people who eat healthy that there's this nose that gets turned up. We all love some form of junk food. That's our favorite. And it might not be yours, but there's no food shame. This is about embracing a healthy lifestyle, which is also not having that. So let's go ahead and pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Angela and just the gift that she is putting this group together, and her heart sharing tonight these tips and things she's learning as she learns to be a good steward of finances and food and wellness in her home. God, I pray that you would bless our week, that you would bless our challengers, you would bless those joining us for our free 5-day group, for those in our self-care and virtual gyms, that you would help us all to lean in and learn new things this week to give us peace when it comes to meal planning, when it comes to our budget, when it comes to what we eat, that you would remove shame or fear or this mindset that we are not worthy of it or that we can't afford it. And you would show us ways that we can make better choices in a way that falls within our means, Lord, that we don't feel like we're not capable, because I know, God, that you desire for us to take care of our bodies and that you want us to take care of our children and our families and be good stewards of our finances. And so there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of heart, Lord, and I give you thanks for the leaders of the group who will be sharing. I pray for every person in the group. I pray for just our week to be fruitful. And Lord, I pray that you would help us to lean in and trust you more with this whole journey of health, to see you as a part of it, to see you as the author of our life, to see you guiding us, to see you stirring in us this desire for freedom with our finances and our food and our wellness and our self-care and all of the things, Lord. And I'm so grateful for the time that Angela has put into organizing this. And I just ask that you would bless her this evening and her family. And I just am so excited for what is yet to come, Lord. And I thank you for this amazing community that you have surrounded us all by. We pray all these things in your most holy name. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.